Forget everything you thought you knew about Earth's ancient past. For millions of years, the most powerful beings on the planet. This was the world 300 million years ago. A hot, humid, and planet of endless swamp.
These forests were so vast, so efficient. They pumped the atmosphere full of oxygen.
To understand why, we must look at how insects breathe. Lungs. They use a system.
But in the super-oxygenated world of the Carboniferous, this limitation was lifted.
Today, we see a dragonfly, a delicate and beautiful hunter of mosquitoes. We see this.
But their ancestors, the Meganeura, were this: a flying terror with a 2.5-foot wingspan.
Today, we see a millipede, a shy, harmless creature of the forest floor. We see this, but their ancestor was Arthropleura, a car-sized, armored giant, the largest land invertebrate of all time.
This was the true age of insects, a time when they were not the pests, but the titans. To understand the giants, we must first understand their world. This was not our planet as we know it.
These colossal, hyper-efficient forests acted as a planetary engine, pumping the atmosphere full of pure oxygen.
Modern insects are small because their breathing system is inefficient. But in the high-oxygen world of the Carboniferous,
this high-octane air didn't just create a few giants. It fueled an explosion of invertebrate life. The oxygen-rich world also fueled the first great vertebrate giants. Enormous amphibians, the size of... But the kings of the water were not the kings of the air. For the first time in Earth's history, insects had become the dominant apex predators. The skies belonged to them. With no birds, no pterosaurs, and no bats yet in existence, this was their kingdom, a forest of giants, built on a foundation of decaying, saturated plant matter. It was a world of six-legged titans, a unique and terrifying window in Earth's history.
And we know this because they left their ghosts behind, fossils of these giants preserved in stone.
This was the reign of the world ruled invertebrates. And in the skies, with a wingspan of over 2 feet, it was an aerial predator of terrifying efficiency. Its prey was anything else that dared to fly.
it did not bite or sting. Its legs, covered in sharp, unyielding spines, formed a perfect cage.
Its massive, serrated mandibles were a primitive but devastating tool, perfectly adapted for crushing.
But the giants were not just in the sky. On the forest floor, another ruler moved. Despite its terrifying appearance, this titan was no hunter. It was a peaceful herbivore, a colossal lawnmower.
Its defense was its sheer size, and a thick, segmented armor of chitin, a living fortress virtually immune.
Even the great amphibian predators of the swamp, the kings of the water, knew better than to challenge this armored, walking titan. This was their world. Giant cockroaches, massive arachnids, and colossal millipedes. It was a world of six-legged titans, unique and terrifying window in Earth's history. This was the apex predator of the Carboniferous skies, Meganeura. It was not a minor. Its primary weapon was its sight. These enormous, complex eyes were among the most advanced on the planet, able to... Its flight was a masterpiece of aerodynamics. 4 independent wings gave it unparalleled agility. Its legs were not for walking. They were a weapon, a set of 6 spiny, grasping limbs.
It was a relentless hunter. Once its eyes had locked on a target, there was almost no escape from its high-speed, acrobatic pursuit.
It was so dominant in the air, it didn't even need to land. It consumed its prey in flight, a flying, feasting engine of destruction. But this aerial terror was born of a different nightmare. For years, it lived underwater as a nymph,
Its weapon was a hydraulic, extendable jaw, a living harpoon that shot out to impale any creature foolish enough to swim within its reach.
And then, after years of aquatic terror, it was time for the final transformation. A creature.
The king was born. A new winged terror, ascending to right.
But the king of the skies did not rule a peaceful kingdom. In a world supercharged with 35% oxygen.
Their battles were not simple chases. They were violent, high-speed collisions, a brutal joust between.
A single, critical blow. A damaged wing meant an end to its reign. The victor claimed his prize.
His dominance established, he patrolled his new kingdom. A winged dragon, his shadow.
His patrol soon attracted a mate. And so began one of the most ancient and acrobatic rituals on the planet. A complex aerial ballet, a dance of equals, a ritual of speed and agility that
The dance culminated in a unique aerial union, a complex reproductive strategy that With the mating complete, a new journey began. The female, now carrying hundreds of eggs, needed to return. She lays her eggs not in the water, but in the decaying plants. A perfect, hidden nursery, rich in food.
Life and death, hunter and hunted.
While Meganura ruled the skies, a different kind of titan dominated the forest floor. A creature whose sheer bulk are not merely large, but truly gargantuan. The largest land invertebrate that has wings.
Its defense was its very form, a body encased in a formidable, multi-layered armor of.
Beneath its armored shell, 1,000 tiny engines. Hundreds of legs, each
wills. Its senses were geared not for hunting, but for finding its sustenance. Primitive eyes, but antennae.
This colossal decomposer was more than just a giant. It was an ecological engineer, clearing vast. It was a moving micro-ecosystem. Smaller scavengers and decomposers often traveled on its back.
Even an armored titan could have its moments of vulnerability. A momentary pause in its endless journey could attract.
But Arthropleura had an ultimate defense. Its hundreds of segments could curl into an impenetrable, armored sphere.
A failed attack. The amphibious predator had met its match. For Arthropleura, life continued.
But Arthropleura was not always a solitary giant. Like their smaller descendants, they gathered in vast colons.
They were ecological architects on a massive scale. A single swarm form could strip a forest floor of all its nutrients.
But this armored giant had a secret. A profound, recurring vulnerability. The process of molting was the most dangerous time of its life. For hours, it was a soft-bodied, helpless. Completely defenseless, it had to wait. Days, perhaps even a week, for its new, larger armor.
Even a titan had its fatal weakness. In these few, soft-bodied hours, the hunter became the hunted. Many did not survive the change.
But for those that survived, the reward was great. A new, larger body, a stronger armor, and for millions of years, these two giants, Meganura in the air and Arthropleura on the land. But no reign, no matter how great, lasts forever. The world was changing. The great.
Their bodies are long since turned to dust, but their journeys are etched in stone. The fossilized track.
But these giants were not just passive inhabitants of their world. They were powerful, active forces of change. With every journey, its massive body carved a new path through the dense, rotting vegetation, creating hunters. It was a colossal herbivore, or more accurately, a detritivore, a living, mobile compost heap, consuming. This constant churning and processing was vital. It was aerating the soil, breaking down the tough plant matter, and accepting. In its wake, a new world emerged, Its feeding unlocked nutrients in the soil, creating the perfect... These clear-cut paths became a vital resource for smaller creatures, a network of corridors that allowed... It was a living bulldozer, reshaping the landscape with every move, clearing away the dead to make way for...
Today, this vital role of ecosystem engineer is played by the great mega herbivores, like the elephant.
In the Carboniferous, so much dead plant matter fell into the swamps that it didn't have time to rot, forming...
But Arthropleura was a crucial exception. By consuming and processing this detritus, it played a role.
While Arthropleura was a peaceful decomposer, the high-oxygen world also fueled a new, far more destructive force.
And like their modern descendants, they did not feed alone. They gathered in legions, a crawling, hungry tide that spelled...
A single signal, a shift in the wind, and the entire swarm would take to the air, a living...
A swarm so vast, it dwarfed any locust plague of the modern world. This was not just a group of insects. We see echoes of this terrifying power today, in the devastating locust plagues that can strip a land of all it...
Now, multiply the modern plague by the scale of the scales of nature, unchecked by...
Their collective hunger was a destructive force on a geological scale. A single swarm in a single day, and as quickly as it arrived, the living storm would move on, leaving only a barren, silent, and profound...
The impact was catastrophic, not just for the plants, but for the entire food web.
In this ancient world, the giant insects were not one single entity. They were predators, they were architects.
The destructive power of these ancient swarms was immense. They could transform entire ecosystems, leaving behind...
This wasn't just a temporary setback. For many local species, especially the smaller amphibians and earthlings, but survival was not just about consuming. It was also about enduring. The collective intelligence of the earth, their sheer numbers and coordinated movement were a formidable defense, a united front, a living shield. Many had evolved powerful chemical defenses. A unified volley of irritating sprays or foul-smelling pheromones could deter. For the young, survival meant stealth. The nymphs of the great griffinflies were masters of camouflage.
Their success was also built on physical perfection. The advanced, intricate venation of their wings provided unmatched.
But not all interactions were violent. Even these giants displayed complex social behaviors.
Their millions of years of dominance were built upon a foundation of unique, primitive plant life. These were the food.
For millions of years, they perfected their strategies to survive, to thrive, and to dominate. For 50 million years, their empire of chitin and wing seemed unassailable.
A new, hardier breed of plant took over. Tough, resinous conifers and seed ferns, which were far... And as the great coal swamps died, the planet's oxygen engine began to fail. The atmospheric O2...
The first to suffer were the young. The aquatic nurseries of the giant griffinflies, once vast, rich...
And for the adults, the very air they breathed had become thin and weak. Their inefficient respiratory systems... On the ground, Arthropleura's food source had vanished. The dry, tough conifers provided no... And as the giants faltered, a new kind of life, equipped with efficient lungs and a body built for a drier world...
The king of the skies, now a grounded, easy meal for the new rulers of the land.
The factors had combined. A changing climate, a new kind of forest, and a drop in the very air they breathed.
But how did these giants, seemingly so alien, truly master their world? Their success was not just about substance. Their eyes were among the most advanced on the planet, a wrapper sensory dome that could process information faster than any...
Their legs were not for walking, but were a weapon. A spiny, aerodynamic cage that guaranteed that one.
On the ground, Arthropleura's adaptations were all about defense. The fossil record shows its armor was
But its armor may not have been its only defense. Like its modern millipede cousins,
a strategy still used today. Modern millipedes are masters of chemical warfare. It is a
their adaptations were not just for the day. Many of these giant arthropods were nocturnal, and like their modern descendants, modern scorpions glow under ultraviolet light. Scientists theorize this allows them to detect moonlight and shadows. For Arthropleura, sight was secondary. It lived in a world of touch and smell. Its two
Flight, armor, chemical warfare, and senses we are only beginning to understand. For 50 million years, the world had changed forever. The age of endless humid swamps was over, replaced by a new world.
And with this new world came new predators. Not the slow amphibians, but the ancestors of mammals. The new kings of the land were swift and efficient. The remaining giant insects already struggling with the thin air. The age of reptiles had begun, but the planet itself would deal the final, catastrophic blow.
For a million years, the volcanoes have pumped toxic, climate-changing gases into the atmosphere, poisoning the air and the oceans.
This was the Great Dying. The Permian-Triassic extinction. Life, as it always does, endured. It recovered. But the world of the giant insects was gone forever. The skies, once the undisputed territory of the Meganeura, had been conquered by new, more efficient flyers.
The insects did not vanish, of course. They simply changed. With a world full of fast, warm blizzards.
And so, while the titans are gone, their legacy remains. Every insect we see today,